Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. PM Modi becomes first leader to receive Israel's highest parliamentary honor. Speaker of the Knesset medal, backs Gaza peace plan, says terrorism anywhere threatens peace everywhere. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to hold bilateral talks with Israeli PM Benjamin Netanyahu in Tel Aviv. Defense and security partnership and issues of mutual interests on agenda. India slams Islamabad at UN Human Rights Council for spreading lies about Jammu and Kashmir. Says development budget of Indian Union territory is bigger than Pakistan's recent IMF bailout package. United States and Iran to hold next round of negotiations in Geneva on Thursday. US Secretary of State says talks to focus on nuclear program. And in sports, defending champions India square off against Zimbabwe in the must-win Super 8 encounter in Chennai today. On the second and last day of Israel visit, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be holding a meeting with President Isaac Herzog. He will also be holding a delegation-level talks with his Israeli counterpart Benjamin Netanyahu. Both the leaders are expected to discuss ways to further strengthening cooperation across various domains, including science and technology, innovation, agriculture, water management, technology, defense and security, trade and investment, as well as people-to-people ties. The leaders will also exchange views on regional and global issues of mutual interest. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's itinerary also includes a visit to Yad Vashem Holocaust Museum, an official memorial institution to the victims of the Holocaust known in Hebrew as the Shoah. Here's more in this report.
We are at Yad Vashem in Jerusalem. This is the World Holocaust Remembrance Center. It commemorates the memory, the legacy of some 6 million Jews who perished during the Nazi genocide. During his visit to Israel, Prime Minister Narendra Modi would be paying a visit to the center to pay his respects. Roisa Altman, born 1870, Czechoslovakia, murdered in Auschwitz camp. This is the monumental book of names. It documents the names of inconceivable number of Holocaust victims. It keeps their names, the year they were born, the place where they grew up, and if the information is available, the place where they were murdered. The center also has an art gallery that carries art from the times of the Holocaust. All of this put together creates a living memory of the victims and a promise that such a Holocaust will never happen again. I have with me here Lily Mattis from the United States. She is one of the many people who have memories of their family members being taken during the Nazi Holocaust. Ma'am, if you can share with us, what is your memory and what brings you here?
Okay, my grandparents, the Feldmans, and from my mother's side, the Goldsteins, who were killed in the Holocaust, and also aunts and uncles, young people, and most of their family was left behind, and they were killed. You know, we don't know. They went to Treblinka, somebody said, and of course nobody survived from Treblinka.
They say when we don't learn from history, we are bound to repeat it. In that sense, this center has a message for the entire humanity. When Prime Minister Narendra Modi pays his respects for the victims of the Nazi Holocaust, it would be a poignant moment for the civilizational ties between India and Israel. With camera person Jaishankar, Shubhendu Ghosh for DD India in Jerusalem.
India and Israel are strategic partners. The expansion of defense and security partnership is in focus during Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to Israel. DD India correspondent Shubhendu Ghosh brings us more.
On day 2 of his official visit to Israel, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will hold bilateral talks with his Israeli counterpart PM Benjamin Netanyahu. India-Israel defense cooperation remains one of the most robust and strategically vital bilateral partnerships, evolving from arms imports to joint development, co-production and technology sharing. It is driven by shared security concerns, including terrorism. Following the Gaza conflict, Israel is actively executing strategic pivot to Asia to diversify its economic, tech and defense partnerships. Between 2020 and 2024, Israel supplied 13% of India's total arms imports, while India accounted for 34% of Israel's defense exports. An MOU was inked in 2025 to enable sharing of advanced tech and promote co-development and co-production of defense equipments. Israel's expertise in air defense could be an important addition to India's arsenal.
I see India and Israel defense tie as a capability partnership shared by a together regional environment. India faces persistent security pressures, but it also had managed escalation risks. That is why it invests in tools that create decision time and operational flexibility. Air defense, ISR, drones, counter-drones, precision, and cyber. The Israeli advantage is not only equipment, but the ability to integrate systems and learn quickly under pressure.
As India expands its defense infrastructure and indigenous manufacturing capability, Israel continues to be an important partner, especially with its expertise in tech and innovation. Prime Minister Modi's visit to Israel is expected to achieve a new breakthrough in security cooperation. With camera person Anand Kumar, Shubhendu Ghosh for DD India, Jerusalem.
In a landmark diplomatic moment, Prime Minister Narendra Modi addressed Israel's parliament, the Knesset in Jerusalem, becoming the first Indian Prime Minister to do so. He received a standing ovation from lawmakers, expressed solidarity with Israel over the October 7 terror attack, and was conferred the Speaker of the Knesset Medal, the highest parliamentary honor. Here's a report.
In a historic moment, Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Wednesday addressed Israel's parliament during his 2-day state visit, becoming the first Indian Prime Minister to do so. Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Knesset Speaker Amir Ohana welcomed him with full ceremonial honors. The Prime Minister received a rousing reception, loud applause and a standing ovation. In his address, Prime Minister Narendra Modi condoled the victims of the October 7, 2023 Hamas attack.
I also carry with me the deepest condolences of the people of India for every life lost and for every family whose world was shattered in the barbaric terrorist attack by Hamas on October 7. We feel your pain. We share your grief. India stands with Israel firmly, with full conviction in this moment and beyond. No cause can justify the murder of civilians. Nothing can justify terrorism. India has also endured the pain of terrorism for a long time.
He called for coordinated global action against terrorism, declaring it a borderless threat that demands united international resolve.
Terrorism aims to destabilize societies, to block development, and to erode trust. Countering terrorism requires sustained and coordinated global action because terror anywhere threatens peace everywhere. That is why India supports all efforts that contribute to durable peace and regional stability.
He expressed strong support for the Gaza Peace Initiative, calling it a pathway towards just and a lasting peace in the region. Prime Minister Narendra Modi also underscored robust India-Israel cooperation across defense, technology, agriculture, water management, cybersecurity, and counter-terrorism, a partnership rooted in trust and shared democratic values. Following his address, the Knesset conferred upon him the Speaker of the Knesset Medal. This marks the first time the medal has been awarded, making him the inaugural recipient of the highest honor of the Knesset. The medal has been conferred in recognition of Prime Minister's exceptional contribution through his personal leadership to strengthen strategic relations between India and Israel. Notably, in 2018, he was also awarded the Grand Collar of the State of Palestine, making him one of the rare global leaders honored by both Israel and Palestine. Bureau Report, DD India.
India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar addressed the 61st session of the UN Human Rights Council virtually, reaffirming India's steadfast commitment to protecting human rights for all. The minister strongly condemned terrorism as a severe violation of human rights and called for a zero tolerance globally.
We remain firm and uncompromising, Mr. President, in our opposition to terrorism in all forms and manifestations as well. Terrorism is among the most egregious violations of human rights, and there can be no justification, especially when innocent lives are targeted. Confronting terrorism requires collective resolve, and we look at this Council and to the United Nations at large to advocate zero tolerance for terrorist acts.
India delivered a sharp rebuttal to Pakistan at the 61st session of the United Nations Human Rights Council, which is being held from 23rd of February to 31st of March, accusing Islamabad of spreading propaganda and asserting that Jammu and Kashmir's development trajectory stands in stark contrast to Pakistan's economic troubles.
We categorically reject these allegations. The OIC, by parroting Pakistan's propaganda, only reveals how deeply it has allowed itself to be co-opted by one member, reducing itself to an echo chamber for one country's political compulsions. Pakistan's incessant propaganda now reeks of envy. We have no desire to dignify such propaganda, however, we'll make a few points to dismantle it with facts. Jammu and Kashmir was, is, and will always remain an integral and inalienable part of India. No amount of wishful rhetoric or audacious propaganda by Pakistan can alter the immutable fact that the accession of Jammu and Kashmir to India was completely legal and irrevocable, and in accordance with Indian Independence Act of 1947 and the international law. In fact, the only outstanding dispute regarding this region is the illegal occupation of Indian territories by Pakistan. We call upon Pakistan to vacate these areas which remain under its forcible occupation. It is indeed hard to take lectures on democracy from a country where civilian governments rarely complete their terms. They ring hollow. The record voter turnout in general elections and assembly elections in Jammu and Kashmir is a testimony to the fact that people of Jammu and Kashmir have rejected the ideology of terrorism and violence propagated by Pakistan and are surging ahead on the path of development and democracy. Mr. President, if the Chenab Rail Bridge, the world's highest bridge inaugurated in Jammu and Kashmir last year, is fake, then Pakistan must be hallucinating or living in the La La land. Or maybe Pakistan finds it unbelievable that the developmental budget of Jammu and Kashmir is more than double the recent bailout package they sought from the IMF. Despite Pakistan's efforts to destabilize the region through relentless state-sponsored terrorism, Jammu and Kashmir continues to surge ahead, politically, economically, and socially. Pakistan would do well if it focuses on fixing its deepening internal crisis than to mask them with grandstanding at such platform. The world can certainly see through its charade.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi has become the first international leader and politician to attain the 100 million followers milestone on Instagram on Thursday. PM Modi joined Instagram in 2014 and currently has more than twice as many followers as US President Donald Trump. US President Donald Trump holds the second spot with 43.2 million followers. Following him are Presidents Prabowo Subianto of Indonesia with 15 million followers, Brazilian President Lula with 14.4 million followers, Turkish President Erdogan with 11.6 million followers, and Argentine President Javier Milei with 6.4 million followers. PM Modi's account is one of the most engaging digital spaces for world leaders over the last 10 years. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney will pay an official visit to India from 27th of February to 2nd of March 2026 at the invitation of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. This will be Prime Minister Carney's first official visit to India. On 27th of February, Prime Minister Carney will arrive in Mumbai. Over the next 2 days, he will participate in separate business engagements, interact with Indian and Canadian CEOs, industry and financial experts, innovators, educators, as well as Canadian pension funds based in India. Prime Minister Carney will arrive in New Delhi on 1st of March. On 2nd of March, the two Prime Ministers will hold delegation-level talks at Hyderabad House. Both leaders will review the progress achieved till date across diverse areas of the India-Canada strategic partnership, building on their earlier meetings in Kananaskis in June 2025 and Johannesburg in November 2025. They will also take stock of ongoing cooperation in key pillars, including trade and investment, energy, critical minerals, agriculture, education, research and innovation, and people-to-people ties. The two leaders will also exchange views on regional and global developments. Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister Carney will also attend the India-Canada CEOs Forum scheduled later in the day. Prime Minister Modi unveiled India's vision for artificial intelligence at the just concluded AI Impact Summit, in which he outlined a human-centric framework for ethical, accountable and inclusive artificial intelligence governance. AI systems should be designed to be verifiable, compliant with law and transparent, especially as deepfakes and other forms of synthetic media increasingly threaten democratic processes and public trust.
Home to 1/6 of humanity and the world's largest youth cohort, India isn't just an adopter. It is also the creator of the global AI discourse. During his inaugural address on February 19, Prime Minister Narendra Modi redefined the path forward. Not just data and algorithms, but an extension of human aspirations, ethics, and dignity. He encapsulated this human-centric vision in the acronym MANAV. M, moral and ethical systems. The first pillar of MANAV vision, fairness, transparency, and human oversight are non-negotiable principles in AI design and development. A, accountable governance. The second pillar stresses transparent rules and robust oversight, reinforcing that trust in AI must be anchored in transparency, robust oversight, and clear institutional responsibility. N, national sovereignty, forms the third pillar of the MANAV vision. The Prime Minister asserted that in an AI-driven world, sovereignty extends beyond territorial boundaries to encompass data, algorithms, and digital infrastructure. data. For India, this means securing critical data sets, strengthening domestic compute capacity, and fostering indigenous AI model development. Accessible and inclusive AI is the fourth pillar of MANA. It affirms that artificial intelligence must serve as a multiplier for society, not a monopoly of a privileged few. And valid and legitimate systems. The fifth pillar of MANA places trust, safety, and legality at the center of AI deployment. AI systems must be verifiable, lawful, and transparent, particularly at a time when deepfakes and synthetic media pose risks to democratic discourse and social trust. Manav is more than a vision. It is a civilizational perspective on artificial intelligence to the world. India is shaping an AI future that advances not only technology, but humanity itself.
India's Minister for Electronics and Information Technology, Ashwini Vaishnav, emphasized that human society rests on institutions built on trust. Addressing at the Digital News Publishers Association Conclave 2026 on Thursday, the minister said platforms that use journalistic content must share value equitably with those who produce it. Vaishnav warned that failure to adhere to these principles would have consequences.
Platforms must wake up, must understand the importance of reinforcing trust in the institutions which human society has created over thousands of years. Platforms must take the responsibility for the content that is hosted by them. The online safety of children, the online safety of all citizens is a responsibility of the platforms. Non-adherence to these principles will definitely make them responsible, because the nature of internet has changed now, and synthetic content should not be generated without the consent of the person whose face or voice or personality has been used to create the content. Time has come, friends, to make that big inflectional change, and I will request the platforms to cooperate with this human society's basic need, and the society which is today asking for this change has to be respected.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio warned on Wednesday that Iran must negotiate on its missile program in the fresh round of talks in Geneva. Talking to media on a visit to the small Caribbean nation of St. Kitts and Nevis, Rubio said Iran is trying to achieve intercontinental ballistic missiles. He further said that it would be a big problem if Tehran does not negotiate missiles. The U.S. Secretary of State expressed hope that Thursday's talks in Geneva will be productive and largely focused on nuclear program. NASA has provided additional details on the early return of SpaceX's Crew 11 mission to the International Space Station in January this year. Astronaut Mike Fink, who served as Crew 11 pilot and commander of ISS Expedition 74, disclosed that his own health concern in January led to the decision to bring all 4 Crew 11 members back to Earth ahead of schedule. In a statement shared by NASA, Fink said he experienced a medical event on January 7th that required immediate attention. He added that after further evaluation, NASA is determined that the safest course was an early return for Crew 11. Fink expressed gratitude to his fellow Expedition 74 members and the teams at NASA, SpaceX and Scripps Memorial Hospital, La Jolla for their support. He said he's doing well and continuing standard post-flight reconditioning at NASA's Johnson Space Center in Houston. The crew splashed down off the coast of San Diego on January 15, concluding a 5.5-month mission. India have a golden opportunity to bounce back as they lock horns with Zimbabwe in the Super 8 stage of the T20 World Cup in Chennai today. The defending champions lost their first Super 8 encounter against South Africa that not only dented their semi-final hopes but also left them struggling with net run rate. Winning this contest by a big margin is critical to India's existence in the showpiece event. On the other hand, Zimbabwe come into the match after a 107-run thrashing by the West Indies. But they have emerged as one of the surprise packages of the tournament, having stunned Australia and co-host Sri Lanka in the group stage. Their spin attack is not as potent as others. However, their fast bowlers can pose tough questions on their day. That's all for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.